Hello, my name is Cassandra Hogan. I have partnered with Zuhair, Malik, Hamzah, Nabulsi, and Linmei, Wang. For our project, we have decided to take data from a report showing the death rate by age and gender for people killed in a crash, where one of the parties involved is a driver with a BAC equal to 0.08%. The data was gathered in 2012 and 2014 in all states by the Centers for Disease and Control Prevention. The article's name is Impaired Driving Death Rate by Age and Gender 2012 and 2014, all states. We have also found other sets of data to help support our findings. These data sets include the median household income in each U.S. state for the years 2012 and 2014, and the population of each U.S. state in 2012 and 2014. Here is the data set that we have chosen to use. As you can see, it has the 50 states, and then is broken up into categories. So, for example, we have all ages, years 2012 and 2014. We have ages 0 through 20, 2012 and 2014. Ages 21 through 34, 2012 and 2014. Ages 35 plus, again, 2012 and 2014. Then we have males, 2012, 2014, and females, 2012 and 2014.
So, according all the data that we have, we are going to compare the driving death rate between the year 2012 and the year 2014. Before we doing the graphs, we use the number 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. to represent each state. For example, the number 1 represent the United States, the number 2 represent Alabama, and the number 3 represent Arizona, like so on. The reason for doing this because the number will be easy to do the graph and is easy on the eye. After that, we choose to use the graph line and clustered column to clearly show the digital information. From the whole point of view, the total driving death rate in 2014 is smaller than the total driving death rate in 2012. On the other hand, according to the graph cluster column, in 2012, North Dakota has the highest driving death rate, and Utah has the lowest driving death rate. In 2014, Wyoming has the highest driving death rate, and the New York State has the lowest driving death rate. Based on the line graph, we can see that Montana and North Dakota in 2 years, they are the two states where the accident rate is relatively high. Our group separates all ages data into 3 different categories. First is the age between 0 to 20, and the second is the age between 21 to 34, and the last one is the age between 35 and above. In each data file, we compare the digital data into 2 years, 2012 and 2014. So first, I'm going to talk about the age between 0-year-old to 20-year-old. We separate the data to 2 columns. They are the year 2012 and the year 2014. In 2012, Louisiana and South Carolina, they both have the highest equal driving death rate. However, in 2014, Mississippi has the highest driving death rate. According to the graph clustered column, the most interesting point is that the New York State has the lowest driving death rate in 2012 and 2014. The driving death rate of the state Mississippi has a similar rate in both years. On the other hand, Based on the line graph, the graph shows that the overall driving death rate for the past 2 years has not changed much, but the driving death rate has been decreasing compared the year 2012 and the year 2014 in these 3 states: Alabama, Louisiana, and South Carolina. I'm going to talk about the age between the year 21 to 34. Based on the 2 graphs, we can see that Montana has the highest driving death rate on both years. They are 21.4 in the year 2012 and 15.4 in the year 2014. Although the year 2014 driving death rate is significantly reduced compared to the year 2012, the state Montana still has the highest driving death rate. However, the New York State has the lowest driving death rate on both years. They are 3.3 and 3. Meanwhile, Massachusetts also has the lower driving death rate. The line graph shows that the overall rate of the data is not particularly clear except the Montana. On the other hand, based on the graph cluster column, which shows that North Dakota has a similar driving death rate on both years, and it doesn't have much difference. In 2012, the driving death rate is 15.3, and in 2014, the driving death is 15.2. Otherwise, New Mexico driving death rate is gradually increasing compared the year 2012 to the year 2014. From the whole point of view, the overall driving death rate is decreasing compared to the past years. Last, I'm going to talk about the age between 35 and above. North Dakota has the big difference of driving death rate in 2012 and 2014. Obviously, the driving death rate decreased a lot. At the same time, the driving death rate of Oklahoma and South Carolina also is obviously decreasing compared to 2012 and 2014. In 2012, New Jersey has the lowest driving death rate. The New York State has the lowest driving death rate in 2012. From the whole graph, we can see that the driving death rate is very stable between 2012 to 2014, and the total driving death rate in 2014 is decreasing than the total driving death rate in 2012. According to the digital information that we have, we divide the whole data into 2 categories by sex, male and female. And we are going to use the data about the male driving death rate in 2012 to compare with the male driving death rate in 2014. Based on the line graph and clustered column, we can see that in 2012, North Dakota has the highest driving death rate. Oppositely, Virginia has the lowest driving death rate. In 2014, Wyoming has the highest driving death rate, and the New York State has the lowest driving death rate. In addition, the graph cluster column shows that North Dakota's driving mortality rate in 2014 significantly reduced compared to the driving mortality rate in 2012. Montana also has the same situation. The driving death rate is decreasing. On the other side, the information from the 2 graphs shows that about the female's driving death rate is a little bit different to male's driving death rate data. The only similarity is that Montana has the highest driving death rate in both years, no matter what gender is. In 2012, Washington State has the lowest driving death rate, and New Jersey has the lowest driving death rate in 2014. To compare with the males and females' total driving death rate, the females' driving death rate obviously is lower than males' driving death rate. Otherwise, the graph shows that male is more stable than males. So our group also separate the data into 2 years, 2012 and 2014 by gender, like males and females. According to the line graph, the amount of driving death rate in male is bigger than the amount of driving death rate in females. Based on the line graph and clustered column, Montana is the highest accident rate of a state, and the other one is South Carolina.
So here we have the data for males and females in 2014. So as you can see, we didn't have data for all 50 states, but we did have a pretty good amount of them. Each state is numbered just for our sake and for the graph's sake. So if we continue on, we can see the line graph comparing the data, and this gives a really good idea. So it's almost like the exact same line graph for both males and females. Males are in blue, females are in red. And it's almost like the exact same line, with the peaks being really similar and the lowest points being really similar. They're just on two totally separate parts of the graph. So males clearly had a much higher death rate by impaired driving than the females did, and the females hit much lower. So, for example, if we take a look at whatever the state 20 is, which happens to be Montana, for both men and women, that we can infer that that is probably the maximum rate, which you will see in a little bit. So here is the bar graph, and again, clearly state 20, which is Montana, has a rate of 10.2, which is the highest. And for females, it has a rate of 4.3, which is probably, again, the highest for females. So here is the maximum and the minimum rates. The females minimum was 0.08, while the male minimum was 2.4, which is a huge difference, probably much different than any of the other data sets that we've had in this project. While the maximum for females was 4.3, and the males was 10.2, which again is a very high difference. Montana also had both maximums, which is something pretty interesting that we've inferred throughout the project, because Montana has showed up as a maximum pretty often throughout all the data sets.
Hi, so we're gonna talk about descriptive stats today about males and females in 2014. So if we talk about male, the mean is 5.6, the standard error is 2.3, the median is 5. So the range is 10.7. So the minimum amounts of accident were 2.4, the maximum were 13.1, and the total count was 47. As per the female, the mean was 1.7, the standard error was 0.1, the range was 3.5, the minimum was 0.8, and the maximum was 4.3. and the total count of accidents were 34.
In terms of population versus impaired driving death rate, all ages 2014, we can see that the death rate is not proportionate to the population, and that it is an independent number, and it fluctuates regardless of the population size. As you can see, for example, in the state of Arkansas, the population is 2.9 million, and impaired driving death rate is 4.6, whereas in California, the population is around 38.8 million, and the impaired driving death rate is 2.2. Moving to population versus impaired death in all ages for 2012, we can see the same thing, where that the impaired driving death rate is not directly related to the population size, where we can see, for example, in the state of Florida that has 19.3 million people, the impaired driving death rate was 3, and where in Alabama the population is 4.8 million, which is significantly lower, but the death rate is 5.5, which is significantly higher. Moving on to the median household income versus impaired driving death rate of 2014, we can see that the numbers for states in the Midwest tend to range between 40 and 55,000, and the rate generally is between 2 and 5, with some outliers such as the state of Wyoming with a 7.1 rate. Hamzah.
And lastly is our bibliography for all the sites that we have used for our project. Thank you for watching.